Oh, what is going on? Whoa, whoa, whoa. We're on. I'm literally just waiting for us to go live. Like everywhere, like right now, we're pushing to one place and we're trying to get the connection set to go to another place and we're trying to make sure that we're in all the places before we go ahead and start the show. So if you just stay on a little bit longer, my my countdown timer stopped working last second. We're almost ready, guys. It's just about that time. I hope you're all prepared, because 3D's here to change your mind on what you think you saw. Prepared to be amazed, because it's about to happen. Alright, everybody, welcome to the show. This is 3D Changes Perspective, and we are about to get started. I know this is absolutely insane. You guys are absolutely crazy, ready to hear this all, ready to go out and ready to go on. So let's do this. Aha, see, you guys thought I was disappearing. Alright, so I just want to say first off, thank you, Roundly X, for being our sponsor today, especially for the network. Go to roundlyx.com and go ahead and jump on and find out how you can DCA into cryptocurrency by just swiping your card. Yeah, go ahead and get those roundups on the last little bits of the dollar that you didn't use. You round your change up and make that in crypto instead. With roundlyx.com, I actually use the ideal bumps. Really great service. They have multiple things there. Go see what's right for you and what you can do at roundlyx.com. Alright, let's go ahead and get this bad boy going on, yeah? Where's it at? Hello? No, not again. Talk about a weird one. Why didn't it play? I heard it. You guys heard it? Okay, I don't know what's going on with that one, but sorry, it just did not show the video. I could hear it though. I could see it on my side. You guys couldn't see it on your end. I don't know why. I'm so sorry about that. But yeah, we're gonna go ahead and get started. I was supposed to have Aramis on today. And it looks like she might be running just a little bit behind. So while we're waiting for her to jump on, I'm just kind of pretty much go over the whole idea of what today is. Today we're going to be basically running over the ledger thing. The whole ledger situation, it is absolutely insane. Thankfully, Aramis, Miss Aramis has gone through and done a lovely, lovely expose on it. Has kind of helped us see everything that's going on. And I can't remember if I remember how to get through my... There we go. Nope, that is not... That's actually the wrong one completely. Hello. That's... Nothing's working with me today. I'm so sorry, guys. My whole thing is just not working with me today. So, basically, what did happen? Well, Ledger went ahead and put out a new feature that allows you to recover your keys from basically anywhere without you knowing your encryption key. And this new service kind of put on an onslaught of things that was just basically like, hey, we're kind of scared about what's going on, because if you can do this, then what stops you from always being able to do this? You know, like, this doesn't make any sense. Like, if you can do this now, you could have always done this, right? And some people wanted to say one thing and other people wanted to say another, but Aramis has actually done a huge breakdown, and we're going to go over as much as we can. Hopefully when she shows up, we can get more going on. Let me see. Let's see if we can get you more screen. So if we see here, and this is actually one of the ones we got from Aramis, but Ledger co-founder and former CEO does admit that governments can subpoena It can subpoena your funds whenever the Ledger recovery service is going on. So if you're in the recovery service, they can't subpoena your funds. It's already there. And with that, that kind of does leave a bit of issue alone. I mean, if they can subpoena that, then that means you have something for them to be able to access. And that's really what that means. It means, and that's what a lot of us who are with security, as well, a lot of security researchers, analysts immediately picked up on. Hey, if they can subpoena it while I'm using it, or if I'm in this program, then you have enough for them to subpoena something, and that there is more than what you're supposed to have in the first place. And that's kind of the whole point here. That Aramis breaks down very well in multiple different threads is Ledger gave this false security to its users. And it's like we were unable to research and reverse engineer the HSM for the chip. So basically, the secure element chip is what she's talking about. And I mean, in the context of the FTC, would deem as false advertising to consumers about the expectations of what was marketed. What was marketed? Right here. Hi, your private keys never leave your secure element chip, which has never been hacked. Secure element is third-party certified and is the same technology used in passports and credit cards. You know those things that get hacked all the fucking time? A firmware update cannot extract the private keys from the secure element. Okay, sure, but we don't need to move or remove anything or extract anything out of that element for you to be able to do something with whatever is in that. And that's kind of the thing here is, oh yeah, there. So that way people can find it if this post gets deleted later. And if you just go through here, going through the comments is never always a good idea. I like to do it because it's fun as heck. But as we keep going in, we're basically seeing that what service that allows them to do anything with that private key. Keep in mind, they said it doesn't leave the secure element, then how are you moving it from one ledger to another? So the ledger users didn't, French intel likely pwned us all before the NSA, I bet. Well, basically, there is a master key that unlocks your HSM. And that key in your secure element on that chip. So there's no need to carry out a supply chain attack or a physical side attack or any kind of physical attack, because they just need this master key. And so basically here it is. The clip need to listen the whole thing. French DGSE, #1 in tech. This Rummel says. So I'm going to bring it up, and we're going to pop up a QR for you to see, for you to be able to scan and find this. Because I am not about to try to figure out how to...
People want to partner with CIA. So CIA is the most powerful in terms of capability and...
I told you not to play. It's 59 seconds. Actually, I can't play the whole thing. But this is how you find it. Okay. It's only 59 seconds. Let's play the whole thing.
And then you...
I'll shut up and let's play.
People want to partner with CIA. So CIA is the most powerful in terms of capability and wealth. And then you've got the idea, you've got tech. So tech alone, meaning corporate espionage, economic espionage, nothing beats DGSE in France. They're the top. They've got a massive budget that almost goes exclusively to stealing foreign secrets. They're the biggest threat to the United States, even above Russia and above China. DGSE in France is a massively powerful intelligence organization, but they are so exclusively focused on a handful of types of intelligence collection that nobody even really thinks that they exist. And then in terms of just terrifying violence, you have Mossad. Mossad will do anything. Mossad has no qualms doing what it takes to ensure the survival of every Israeli citizen around the world. Most other countries will stop at some point. People want to partner with CIA.
So that's what I'm hearing. Okay, so he's saying people want to partner with CIA because other countries are really that fucking brutal. And I think that's kind of an important point to point out. I'm glad Aramis is actually thinking of stuff like this. She's noticing people who work in this field, CIA and stuff like that, and stuff that they've seen, and that's A really good point. Really good point. Um, so, woo, this is only gonna get thicker. Only gonna get thicker, ladies and gentlemen. We're gonna eventually get to the main thread with all the juicy little bits of information. Um, so let's keep going. So basically, that from workers that alarm company stole from my first generation ledger is yet in for another disappointment soon. Oh, okay. I don't know. If she was here, she could explain that one to us. But he still stole sediment value. Ah, okay. So that doesn't. Okay, so she had a ledger stolen, and she's basically saying now, because of stuff that's going on, she's not really worried about that ledger or whatever. It's just now the sediment of what was is now gone. Um, it was her first hardware wallet that was gifted to her while she was homeless prior to landing in Texas. Okay, so that is a definite reason for sediment value. It's one of those things that allowed you to get out of the hole. Um, and that is what's up. And it was a first generation ledger. Nice. So, what do we see here? Ledger Nano S from release notes. With the recent release of the Nano S, soon retired. What? With the recent release of the Nano S and S Plus will soon be retired. If you are a Ledger Nano S owner, we will continue to support Ledger S device maintenance, new features, critical bugs, and other vulnerability fixes. That's still kind of scary the way that's worded. A stupid bloke would steal a horror wallet just to fill someone lined up with 2 weeks or less to hack crack it. It ain't difficult ones. Okay. Okay, so we kind of already went over this, right? Why is that in there twice? No way. Okay, weird. Let's get into it. Let's make the juicy. Oh yeah. So basically, um, it. We're gonna go through the videos because they're not very long. They're like 30 seconds and stuff. But it's crazy. So from the start, Ledger held a master key to the Ledger product kingdom. So everything that it holds, they hold. There's been some form of key to it all this time. Why call it a backdoor when you can market it as a master key with a key ceremony? It's the same thing. Why is nothing is working for me today. Sorry. Yeah. So that's kind of the point here is they're using terminology to make claims that they're not doing things that they are doing. I mean, keep in mind if there's any, basically it's like a Bitcoin wallet. And I say it like this because I said always like this. And, a Bitcoin wallet is designed that if you have your key, it works no matter what. But the way it works is you can build one key, and then that key can build other keys. And so that becomes a master key. And you can have master keys of master keys. So I can have a master key, and then that master key can produce master keys. And then those master keys can produce keys. Okay? And so there's one of like 3 setups they could have here, and I think Amiris would have been the one that would have been better explainable for this, and I know she'll explain some of this here in a bit, but I want to explain all 3. So we basically have your standard HD hierarchy, key to key, key to key to key. So each thing it produces is basically a new master key that can produce more keys. That's a standard HD wallet system. Hierarchy deterministic. Then we have a mixed value output, which is basically at any point within the HD system, we can then separate our Merkle tree from the root to create a branch. Okay, so that is adding data, and most importantly, that's the basic way to explain that is what it produces can no longer produce keys. It is just a key. It's not a master key of any kind. It's just a sample key. And you can produce other ones beside it, and you can have more. And so that's kind of how a MetaMask wallet works. You have a master key that produces a key, and it can produce other ones alongside of it. It can find other versions of that same key set. And all those work together, but each one will have their own private, and each one will have their own public key. And then we have ultimates. And ultimate's not like the best setup, but it's just like ultimate security is the ideal, where every master key that produces a key is branching off outside of its root already. Okay, so we have this Merkle tree being built. As this Merkle tree is being built, we can determine if we want to allow that mixed value or not. Do we want to allow keys to continue being made or not? And this is where it really makes a difference. Because if Ledger says, we have a master key that produced your master key, but neither master key are able to produce master keys from this point on. They can only produce regular keys. Because we do not allow mixed value. And we're at a equilibrium. Looks like we're about ready for someone. So, one second, everybody. So, if they said, okay, we don't allow another one to go on, then that would be okay, right? So, hold on a second. Looks like we got some people. If I can get an audio.
Hey, can you hear me?
I can hear you, yeah.
Hey, I am so sorry. I read the tweet and it said 6 p.m. Central Time.
Yeah,
And I was
Central
like,
European, yeah.
oh
Yeah, this is technically
no.
a European show. My bad.
I'm so ill prepared. Like I can wing it, but it's not gonna be as in depth as I wanted it to be. Like I was prepping my notes to come on the show in like in like 7 more hours. I thought I had 7 more hours. Okay, well, let's do this. So what did I miss? Because I wasn't even. I just saw you were live, and I was like, why? How is this right now? Okay,
Yeah.
so catch me up, catch me up. Ask me some questions.
See, now that is exactly what we were needing. Okay, so first off, do you want your video on the screen right now? I just have a picture to represent you.
Just keep the picture because I'm totally not even dressed. Like I was gonna be presentable in like 7 more hours. Yo, I did not know this was a European show. Oh my goodness.
Oh, how often do you know I do anything American? Come on, come on.
Okay, okay, well, let's go.
All right, all right. So, we were looking at. Let me see if I can get you to see my screen at least. And so that's the other thing. At any point in time you're ready to share your screen, let me know.
Okay. I can't see your screen right now though.
I'm trying to get it to where you can. It's.
Okay.
Oh, that is the wrong. Whoop! You disappeared on me. Can you see me?
I can see you. It's small. Well, I can't see you. I can see your screen. The
Uh,
screen is really tiny, but it's okay because I'm on my phone. That's why.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you go in landscape mode, it'll probably just get slightly bigger. Okay, so basically we were seeing the whole thing about they were admitting they have the you know the ability to be subpoenaed, and I know like you
Yes.
went through this process the biggest and the hardest. Can you
Yes. No,
explain?
I actually have the notes already for that, thankfully. That was one of my major topics. Yes.
Awesome sauce.
So yeah, if we're on the subject of subpoena, okay, so this is the issue. The issue is that Ledger themselves is part of the three companies. Ledger is headquartered in Paris, France. Paris, France is friendly to the United States, but that's not all. Ledger also has offices in San Francisco, California. So even though that they're incorporated in France, because and we saw this with Binance, because they also have an office in San Francisco, California, United States, they fall under the jurisdiction of the US by just having an office here, domicile, whether they're incorporated in the US or not. That's a huge importance. But then moving forward, the other two companies is Escrow Tech International Incorporated, and the other one is CoinCover. Escrow Tech Incorporated, again, is incorporated in the United States. It's in Lehi, Utah. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right, but it's in Utah. And that's Escrow Tech. Now, in the live sessions of the Ask Me Anything that Ledger did, they did downplay the role of Escrow Tech. They said it was just for like just I forget the proper word for it, but it's like continuity. It's just repeating what CoinCover holds. So it's just like a backup. So it's really interesting that they said that because the shard is supposed to be broken into three pieces. But redundant. But if they're claiming that Escrow Tech is redundant, that technically means that they really just have a threshold of 2 out of 3. They don't have a threshold of 3 out of 3. It's a threshold of 2 out of 3 in the Shamir secret sharing algorithm. Okay, so then CoinCover, which also offers a $50,000 US dollar coverage of insurance on your crypto, CoinCover is incorporated in England and Wales, which is the United Kingdom. And again, the United Kingdom is buddy buddy with the US. We saw that with Julian Assange. They were willing to extradite him. So you have a company incorporated in Utah, the United States. You have Ledger that has offices in the United States and is incorporated in Paris, France, which probably would comply with the US. And then you have CoinCover, which is integral, supposedly, especially with the insurance plan, which is in the United Kingdom, which definitely complies to United States law when the US government asks them to. Now, why is the subpoena such a concern? I'm not talking about like some edge case criminal stuff or anything like that. I'm talking about like innocent people who are either innocent right now or are innocent, but in the future, laws and rules might change and they might be retroactive. And then that would give them, anyways, I know that they went on that talk show, that podcast that said, oh, Coinbase got subpoenaed. But hear me out. That's like the least of our worries. The fact that people are having to issue government IDs to get their coins if they lose their seed, and so to get their coins back from this backup from Ledger Recover, hear me out. If your seed is paired with your government ID, this has happened in the past of the United States. The United States government, once upon a time, confiscated gold. They might be able to do that in the future with such programs like Ledger Recover with crypto. That's why self custody and self sovereignty are so important. What was the gold confiscation all about? Well, in 1933, President Roosevelt issued Executive Order 6102, mandating the surrender of gold coins, bullion, and certificates by U.S. citizens and residents to the Federal Reserve. The following year, in 1934, Congress passed the Gold Reserve Act, which effectively eliminated the right to redeem those gold certificates. So not only did they surrender their gold, but a year later, if they hadn't redeemed those certificates within that year before Congress passed this new law, they were up creek. Um, so then, noncompliance with Executive Order 6102 was considered a criminal offense. So if someone was found to be in possession of gold coins, bullion, or certificates after the deadline specified in the executive order, they were subject to fines and imprisonment. The penalties for noncompliance range from fines equivalent to about $200,000 in today's value to imprisonment up to 10 years. 10 years for not turning over your gold. As a result, individuals who had surrendered their gold assets received compensation in the form of newly printed currency, but the exchange rate at a devalued rate of $35 per ounce of gold compared to the previous value of $20.67 per ounce of gold, this devaluation represented a reduction in the value of approximately 40% for those individuals. In essence, the Gold Reserve Act resulted in individuals receiving less value for their surrendered gold, effectively imposing a de facto 40% tax on their savings. That happened in the past, and that was in effect until like the 1970s, I think like 1974 or something. So, like, it was illegal to possess gold in the United States. And as far back as 1934, you were forced to comply unless you faced 10 years of imprisonment. Oh my God. So if this happened in the past, it can happen in the future. And not just a repeat for precious metals, it can also be enacted against cryptocurrency because of companies like Ledger doing things like this that erode self sovereignty. That's what makes the subpoena so deadly, is because you don't know what your government is going to do in the future to you. Do you understand the concern? It's not even just a concern of, oh, we suspect these people of evading taxes and we want a subpoena to get their their information, or this person is an investigation for hacking something. We want to confiscate. I'm not even talking about that. I'm talking about innocent people that, because of the economy, and we know that we're in a shaky economy right now, because of the economy, the government could repeat what they've done in the past to innocent US Americans and residents who stay in this country by mistake and end up surrendering both their precious metal and cryptocurrency this time around. That's why a subpoena is so concerning in this context.
Now, that's a really good point. I do want to point out that in America, there is still legal limitations to how much gold one individual is allowed to stockhold. So that could then also be applied to crypto as well, because it is the only thing it's not applied to so far is like silver and certain types of other metal. But believe it or not,
Mhm.
if you hold over 1 pound of gold of any kind, then they have a legal right to come in and seize it, including jewelry. Like there have been people who have large embellished gold jewelry, and they have to pay special taxes on those. And when they leave and enter the country, they have to pay special taxes on those. And that's the reason why people do that. That's why a lot of people, you don't see them traveling with expensive jewelry if they're extremely rich people, because they don't want to pay taxes. Because if your jewelry or something's over certain wealth, same thing. So I did show this video. I know on your screen you saw me flipping around, but everyone else didn't. But they already saw this video. We already pointed out exactly what you're talking about with the whole French may have pwned us first. Um, but I noticed that you were mentioning the fact that basically their main base is in France, right? Ledger's main
Yeah,
base.
yes.
And so that's the other worst part about this, right? This guy who was working with the CIA or something said that people would rather work
Correct.
with the CIA because basically some of these other places like the French Foreign Affairs are extremely ruthless, right?
Well, I don't think he called the French equivalent to the CIA or NSA ruthless.
Well,
I
you're
think
right.
you're
He just said it in general for other
I
agencies.
think, yeah, I think you're mixing it up with Mossad is the Israelis. Israelis intel agency is known for their ruthlessness, and
Oh,
they
you're
don't
right.
have
I
the
do.
limits. Yeah. So, but what he was saying about the I don't have the acronym in front of me, but the DGR whatever in France, that agency, what they're known for and why they're so despised by US agencies apparently is they're like so ahead of the tech. So they're like the number one cybersecurity people. Like if you want to break any encryption, if you want to eavesdrop through like internet communications, France, their special intel cybersecurity people are supposedly the number one in the world. And it sounds like maybe their intelligence, their human intelligence, their non-cyber, the people who go into the field, it's implied that they must be as good as the CIA because that's what the guy was complaining about, that they interfered with the CIA operations because they even posed as the CIA. Like they'll fake pose as the CIA. That's hilarious. But since you showed that video and since we're on this topic, the reason why I came to that conclusion is it's not far-fetched to think that a big private company has a private public relationship with their government. The US does it all the time. China certainly does it. France probably is no different. And the other reason why I say that is due to the Ledger marketing material, especially back in November of 22, they issued out a tweet claiming that the secure element is like the key never leaves your hardware. Well, I'm going to butcher it. So let me just read it word for word. Hi, your private keys never leave the secure element chip, which has never been hacked. The secure element is third party certified and is the same technology as used in passports and credit cards. A firmware update cannot extract the private keys from the secure element. That tweet was from the 15th of November in 2022 Ledger. First off, they were already fibbing in that because there was to that date already two known hacks against Ledger, except those two hacks were physical, so they had to possess the ledger physically. But here they didn't mention physical or non-physical. They just said that there was absolutely no hacks. That was already a lie. And then here, fast forward to today, now we know that this tweet was a lie because the firmware update that they want to push out will change the operating system, how it functions to send out the private keys. So the fact that they literally typed a firmware update cannot extract the private keys from the secure element, that was untrue. And so that's one the other issue that I have also like researching and like listening to like that Ask Me Anything of Ledger is they've done so much double speak. And like who's known for doing double speak? Like people who run freaking psyops, like the people in government intelligence agencies. They talk out the side of their mouth all the time. This is like their trademark. So I don't know, man. It's like really suspect. I can't prove it. Like, I'm not going to do anything illegal and like sniff their packets to see if they're communicating with some sort of government entity. I'm not going to do that. But I will say that the fact that they lied in their marketing material, and we now know that the hardware security module, which is part of the secure element, can be updated with firmware. Like, yes, maybe the technical people should have realized, well, most hardware wallets work that way because like you have to be able to update it for like new protocols and stuff because crypto is changing all the time. Yes, that makes sense, but I think the way that Ledger was talking to their customer base was really condescending and belittling, being like, oh, haha, y'all should have known that we could have changed the firmware at any time because the secure element is malleable, it's not immutable. They expected people to know that. Well, yeah, in general, that was known, except, like I said, in their marketing material all these years, they kept saying the secure element is a secure enclave, nothing leaves it. So I figured, without even researching it and verifying it myself, I took it at face value and was like, wow, they must have found a way to sign Ethereum keys, like transactions, without it leaving. Wow, that's like paramount, like top-notch engineering right there. Like it was impressive. But all this time, they never actually did anything impressive. It literally works like any other Ethereum wallet. And the reason why I say that is Bitcoin works a little bit different, which is why there was a hoopla way back in the day when they moved from Bitcoin only and started incorporating Ethereum and then started incorporating other chains. It was because the I don't have the notes in front of me, but the type of encryption that's used in the Ethereum protocol to sign transactions, that encryption cannot currently be done on current day hardware security modules. It has to leave that to like what's called like the MPU or MCU, one of those two. It has to leave that secure element into another part of the processing chip kind of area. And like the operating system handles that. It is all on the device. It doesn't technically leave the device, but what I'm trying to say is in the hardware architecture, it leaves the most secure chip to a less secure part of the hardware device to be able to run the operation of those elliptical curve algorithms for the encryption. That currently cannot be done. Furthermore, even if it could be done, Ledger admitted this in their last AMA, which is even if they went out their way to create a hardware wallet like that, they would have to create a new edition of a hardware wallet, like, I don't know, every 3 months or something, which is way too much overhead and like way too much to manage. And the reason for that is people want, certain dApps to be supported, new chains to be supported. So if you literally have a baked in hardware that cannot change, the minute you want to add something, you're going to have to come up with a new product, a new hardware. Now, that sounds great for making profit. That sounds great for making profit, but really it doesn't because you're managing so many hardware elements. It actually bogs down your bottom line because it's too much bloat to handle, like bloat on the side of managing the different modules and stuff. Anyways, I'm sorry, I'm ill prepared to go too deep into this because I don't have my notes. But the reason why this is important is if the hardware module can be updated with with firmware updates, which we now know it's confirmed, that means that hypothetically, that's why Ledger admitted that it's weak against supply chain attacks. So if the ledger is intercepted by any government or anyone, period, in the supply chain between them and you, as long as they have the proper equipment to make it still sign and act proper, which is this would be very sophisticated. Your average Joe would mess this up. There is an authentication feature in Ledger to tell if it's tampered with. But what I'm saying is nation states have that level of sophistication to still fake it. And then on top of that, they don't even need to do a supply chain attack, okay? All they need to do is either already backdoor not the secure element, the hardware security module, because the hardware security module is not made by Ledger. Ledger buys that from another company. Yes, that company's trusted. They've done business with banks and stuff. But we all know from recent news, whether it's China or the US or whoever, but basically there's been in the news, China and the US have both been caught backdooring their microprocessor chips. So if they're already backdooring microprocessor chips, what makes you think a government doesn't also backdoor hardware security module chips? They probably do. And then on top of that, even if it's not on that level, which is like the NSA type of level, even if you don't do that, a regular, like sophisticated criminal could actually, now Ledger tried to argue that this can't happen, but it can. A criminal can actually poison an update to your Ledger Live as long as they make a user believe that they're using the proper Ledger Live. They can bypass that security check because Ledger Live is what pushes the firmware update to you. So if a criminal tried to push a poison firmware update to you directly, it wouldn't work. But if they first implemented a fake Ledger Live and had you actually install that and run it, and it be like a compromised Ledger Live software, then that software can fake the authentication, and you will think that it's okay to do the firmware update. Now, this would be very difficult because Ledger has put in some fail safes, and I can't really go into that because I don't have my notes in front of me because I thought this show was at 6 p.m. US Central Time, like 6 hours from now. But I will say that even though it's a difficult attack to pull off because of the measures Ledger put in place, even for Ledger Live itself, it still can be done. It's tedious. An attacker can do it. And we now know that the ledger is susceptible once you pawn the Ledger Live software, the hardware ledger is then susceptible to various attacks, including side channel attacks and also including overflow. So I was researching the overflow because that seems a lot easier than the side channel attack. The side channel attack is like nation state level attack kind of thing. It's very sophisticated. Whereas 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 the overflow attack, a script kiddie could probably pull it off, maybe. And that attack would mean that they have to write code in C. It's all programmed in the C language. They would write the program in C, and they would create an error that overflows. And then once you create that overflow error, you can push other code to then compromise the secret keys because the overflow can create errors that reveal the protected side of the secure element. It is a high-end attack, but it's not impossible for criminals to pull off. I would say the other attacks, like the side channel attacks, are way, way overhead. Like they would really have to be wanting a specific target, if that, and that's like nation level stuff when it comes to like reading. What with a side channel attack, what I'm talking about is reading the either the heat signature or the electrical inputs, and like you would piece together um, that communication to figure out like the words of the seed. And I know that there's protections for that, but what I'm saying is if you compromise Ledger Live, you might be able to bypass those protections. I say might because here's the other thing. Ledger has recently pledged to open source almost everything. You know what they can't open source? They can't open source the hardware security module. Why? Because they don't own it. They bought it from another company and it's proprietary. Since it's proprietary, they're never going to open source that. And even if they did open source it, they do have somewhat of an argument, even though it's security by obscurity, which is really weak. The other argument is, well, if you have a piece of hardware and you open source it 100% and people start attacking it and they find something to attack, then, it takes X amount of months to produce another piece of hardware. In that time, users are then, open to those attacks. So I do see like both sides of why, even if they own the hardware security module chip, why they might still not want to open source it. But at the same time, we're also wondering if they're colluding with their government, their French government intel agencies. So the only way to verify that they're not putting that kind of thing in their hardware security module is to check that code. But here's the other caveat, and this is why I say that we're still probably pawned by Ledger and the French intelligence agencies, is Ledger doesn't actually need the 3 shards. You heard that correct. They don't actually need the 3 shards. They are playing theater with this Ledger recover backup. The reason why I say that is Ledger on their first AMA when this all broke up. Oh, I'm sorry. Hello?
Yeah, yeah, I'm still here. I hear you.
Oh, okay. When on their first AMA, Ledger admitted to a person asking a question that they hold this thing called the master key. What the master key is, the master key unlocks the encryption done by the hardware security module. In other words, Ledger has the ability to unlock every ledger ever created, ever made, ever sold, because they hold the encryption key that does the encryption through the hardware security module. That doesn't mean that they get to pawn you like by default, but it does mean that they can either be subpoenaed, or if enough of them collude, maybe they could pull this off. But the thing is, if they hold this master key, how do we know it wasn't compromised to begin with? Yes, they said that their master key is controlled by Shamir's secret sharing algorithm as well. And they have this whole key ceremony within their corporation. That way, no one in their corporation can collude to, steal everyone's ledger money. Um, that's fine and dandy on the corporate level, but we don't know the process of how that key was created and how it was handled in the first few hours of its creation. And we don't know how it was handled when it was like encrypting the hardware security module. Those steps of the early process, days of manufacturing the ledgers, are very important, because those steps of the process, that's when the intel agencies of France or even the US NSA could have intercepted, especially if any of this touched online, if it touched the internet at any time during its creation, whether it was creating the master key or whether it was creating the ledgers in the assembly line. If at any time that process touched the internet, that key, that master key, could have already been intercepted by either the French government intelligence or the US government intelligence agencies. We don't know, because Ledger just said, quote, "We have a key ceremony." Well, yeah, that's after the fact. What was the process in the early days when you first created that? And what is the process of when you like bake in that encryption onto the hardware security module? We need to know that process. Even though they can't open source the code, they can at least be transparent about what that process was. So we can, be like, well, maybe it's not pawned by a government. And then even if it's not pawned by a government, like I said, Ledger holds that master key. And just because they broke it up into 3 shards with Schmier secret sharing doesn't mean a dang thing when the government can go and subpoena them. So in other words, even though we just talked about the 3 companies getting subpoenaed, guess what? The government doesn't need to subpoena all 3 of those companies. They just need to subpoena Ledger, period. And they don't even need to subpoena Ledger for the shard. They can subpoena Ledger for the master key. And then by default, that subpoena gives the key to every ledger on Earth, period.
Well, that's a good point. I do want to point out for anybody who's listening, Coinbase had a key ceremony that a lot of people still didn't trust, and Coinbase admitted to having to use physical like tints to prevent broadcasting of network in and out while they did these things, and they still had some internal issues early on. Um, but you're right. Like going for the master key doesn't. No key ceremony prevents your government from just saying, "Yeah, we'll take the time to wait for you to do that." And go ahead and do that, right? And I have to admit, there's way more here than I was actually expecting. I honestly would love to get you on in 2 weeks for the next episode so you can talk more about the way they're doing their encryptions and the way they're transmitting this stuff, because to me that was my favorite part, really hearing about how they were using a Shamir secret, and then also how they were moving it around. And I kind of want you to have more time to break this down for us, because really, truly, this is much bigger than what I think people realize. And in order for you to really understand everything that's going on, I think you need
Oh, and
another
I don't,
chance.
yeah, and I don't want to cut you off. I do want to say this real quick.
Yeah.
The other reason why it's so suspicious is because what little we do know about their encryption process is suspect. The reason why it's suspect is if you go onto Ledger and most of their encryption on the public documents that is already open source is RSA. We already know RSA more than a decade ago was pawned by the NSA. The NSA owns all RSA keys, period. And then on top of that, Shamir's secret sharing algorithm, they chose the minimum sharing of three, 2 out of 3. Who does that? There's encryption, well, not encryptions, there's cryptography experts that have already came out and said years ago that 2 out of 3 shards is weak. You need probably 5 signers, and out of the 5 signers, you need 3 out of 5 or 4 out of 6. Why did they choose the minimum? Not just for the shards. They actually admitted that they have 2 out of 3 for their master key. It only takes one. I know people are going to argue with me that one cannot be decrypted. But yes, it can by nation states. Nation states have cryptography code breakers. 1 out of 3 is weak. Now, a criminal, yes, a criminal would need the 2 out of 3. And that's why Ledger said that escrow tech is redundant. You actually don't need all 3 to figure it out, although 3 makes it super simple to figure it out. So ideally, you would have 3 out of 3. But if you only have 2 out of 3, it's fine. You can deal with it. So why did they choose the minimum? Like Shmir's secret sharing goes all the way up to, I think, again, I don't have the notes in front of me, 13 or 16. I think it's 16 shares. You can break it into a total of 16 shares max. And then the minimum is 3 shares, and you need 2 out of those 2 shares. Why did they pick the weakest encryption of RSA? And why did they pick the weakest Schmier secret sharing threshold of 2 out of 3? Why? Riddle me that. The only thing I can think of is they are owned by the intelligence agency of France. That's how I came to that conclusion. Because why would they make it weak on purpose? You make encryption weak so a nation state can break it easier. That's my argument.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to disagree there. I do know that, like, sometimes with business, big business, they don't think twice, and I could see someone saying, just make sure we don't have any liability. And I know I know you deal with this kind of stuff too. So if someone was to come up to me and say, "Yeah, we want this, blah blah blah, but we don't really want liability on us," yeah, I could see going for 2 out of 3 because say you absolutely lost a key in any form. Yeah, you're right. It's just a little bit of extra mining, so to speak, to do to get the what bit is missing from the equation, right? Because when you're putting this stuff together, a lot of times the secret, Shamir secret, can be put together with all the pieces and still get some kind of output, which was what made it so great, right? So we didn't always know if we were getting a proper output or not, right? But at the same time, that is how it gets used and abused by big corporates. Is they go, well, if we do 2 out of 3, we only have 3, then a majority of the data is actually inside each one of those pieces, which is why you're saying, and that most simplest point where you only need 2 out of 3 and there's only 3 shards, that's why one can possibly be decrypted, because A, we know it can be decrypted completely by just one piece by itself. The system is designed to be able to do that. It will give us some kind of an output, but it's only math after that to go from there to the correct output. And
Exactly.
and when you're
Yeah.
talking about, when you say 2 out of 3, most people think that means it's divided into like 33% each, but it's actually like when you go 2 of 3 and only 3 total shards, it's actually something like 66 or 67% per each, which means they have a redundancy within the shard. That's why only reason why 2 out of 3 basic sharding is normally used. There's that redundancy feature.
Exactly. Which is why you actually don't need all 3. You just need 2 out
Yeah.
of the 3. Yeah, exactly.
All right. Well, we are near the end, and I want to give you a chance to let everybody know about you. We will go ahead and you're gonna send me all your your links, and we're going to put those in the show notes afterwards, so that way people can still find them afterwards, and maybe get a little bit more prepared for when you come on in 2 weeks to do this again and go into more detail, because I don't think people realize just how deep this really goes for everything, because it's so multifaceted, isn't it? But go ahead, give us your info.
Okay, my info. I have a website right now, that leads to my OpenSea NFTs, non-fungible tokens. Um, you can scroll there from various prices. You might get a sticker shock on the first one, just scroll past that. And all the way down, you'll find 0.01 Ethereum. It's Ethereum. That website is Amiris NFT. Now you're gonna have to spell my name correctly. So that's A as in apple, M as in Mary, I as in illustration, R as in river, I as in illustration, S as in song, NFT.com. I'm doing the .com first, just for sanity's sake. Once I get that all perfect, then I'll, move it over to IPFS. But it's not perfect yet, and I don't know if y'all know this, but if you keep uploading to IPFS, like it doesn't always refresh for like the cache on people. That's why I want to just do it in one go, and that's why I'm procrastinating it. I'm like, yeah, it's not ready for IPFS because I don't feel like updating it again and again over there. But anyways, so yeah, check out my website, amorous.nft.com. And if you click on any of the images, it'll take you to my OpenSea. And on OpenSea, it's just the Amiris collection, AMIRIS, that collection. And that's what I have so far. And I don't know. I've been a lot of things in technology over the years. Uh, I can't really off the top of my head make it succinct and concise. So I'll just say that. And yeah, I look forward to coming on next time, especially since Ledger is claiming that they're going to open source their cryptography library. And I'm really curious to look into it. I have not gotten a chance to look into it. So I don't even know if they've open sourced it already or not. I just heard on their last AMA that they will open source it. The reason why this is important is because if there's two ways to implement Shamir secret sharing, there's another weak way. I'm not even talking about the threshold. I'm talking about the elliptical curve stuff, the math. There's a weak way, and then there's a proper way. And I'm curious which way they did, because there's been research that claims that certain libraries that are already available for public use, like on GitHub and stuff, most of them mess it up and use the weak way.
Yeah, I knew it was gonna happen. All right, yeah, I'm already messaging her and Twitter DMs, letting her know, hey, Zoom just told me they're gonna drop you off. Now we use Zoom because I can actually use my VR in Zoom, and that was something Aramis preferred. So I just want to say, everybody, we're gonna have Aramis on, and when I come back in 2 weeks, so that way we can really get more information. I'd be dead honest. When we first set up this whole ideal, there wasn't as much here in the Ledger thing as there is now, and it's still growing. So yeah, she's gonna be back. We're gonna have some more stuff, and definitely gonna be ready prepared. Now that she understands that I do everything in the Central European time zones. Come on! And yeah, thank you everybody for showing up. I really hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Can't wait for the next one. It is going to get absolutely insane as we get more people in. I'm gonna have to build something so you guys can see the people when they come on, because it's so weird they just float around beside me. Alright everybody, let me see if I can figure out this little thing. Let me see. Hold on. I'm in here somewhere. Ah, it's still not doing the video. I don't understand. Sorry guys, I'm gonna have to get that video worked on. I don't know what happened. It just stopped working right when I pushed play with for you guys at the beginning. It was working before that. I don't know. I'll get it going. We'll get it stuff fixed. We're having fun. I hope you guys enjoying it. See you guys next time when I try to change your perspectives on this entire Ledger Nano thing. And really, it is huge.